And the 7th horse should be, and there he is, Northern Dancer, the double winner in Florida and one of the 2 prime contenders with Bill Hartack.
Also in the field were Quadrangle, The Scoundrel, Roman Brother, and Mr. Brick. And here's how a movie newsreel of the day informed the American public about the race.
The Roses sees number 11, Hill Rise, go to the post as a favorite, while the Derby crowd has made Northern Dancer second choice. The race is seen as a duel between these 2, and that's just the way it turns out as they go past the clubhouse on the 1.25 mile run. A 15-to-1 shot, Mr. Brick sets the early pace, with Hill Rise and Northern Dancer laying back in the pack to bide their time. It's a fast pace, the kind of pace that sets records. They come around the final turn to head down the home stretch, and this is the furlong that separates the champs from the also-rans. Northern Dancer has the lead, with Hill Rise mounting a threat in second place. One of the most thrilling finishes in Derby history as Northern Dancer hangs on to his lead. Hill Rise moves up, but the Little Dancer is over a winner. The first Canadian-bred horse to ever win the Kentucky Derby. Canada can be proud of a real champ.
Most Americans were not aware that Shoemaker's decision to ride Hill Rise was based on Northern Dancer's reputation as a horse who would not respond to the whip. Yet, as this film of the actual stretch run shows, when Hartack tapped Northern Dancer with his whip, the colt responded. He began hitting the colt harder. Northern Dancer responded gamely to the stick the length of the stretch and held off Hill Rise to win the Derby in 2 minutes flat, a record beaten only by the great Secretariat.
Down the stretch now, Northern Dancer out in front by a length. Hill Rise is gaining on him. It's coming to the wire. It's going to be tight. Northern Dancer gets it. Northern Dancer by a long...
Going into Baltimore for the second jewel of the Triple Crown, Northern Dancer, for all of his brilliance in the Derby, was not the favorite. That distinction went to Hill Rise, just as it had in the Derby. The race turned to a cat-and-mouse game as Hill Rise stalked the nimble little colt down the backstretch. Hill Rise was only able to get within the neck of the lead, held by Northern Dancer.
That's Big Pete out in front. Northern Dancer, Hill Rise, and Quadrangle moving up on the outside of him, bringing up the rear of the Scoundrel and Roman Brother. And as they go to the first turn, Big Pete holds the lead and the rail. He's out there by a head. Quadrangle left to the outside is second by 3/4 of a length. Northern Dancer is third. The Scoundrel is moving up on the inside now and gets to fourth. Hill Rise is in tight quarters, and Bill Shoemaker just biding his time as he sets him in 5th position going around the turn with Roman Brother last. Now they spin out of the turn and start down the backstretch. Big Pete in front by just a nose. Quadrangle being rated right alongside of him, but not wanting to pass him this early in the game. Northern Dancer is third. Hill Rise now is moving a little earlier than was true in the Derby. He's going up to 4th on the outside. The Scoundrel is running 5th, and Roman Brother is a close 6th. Halfway down the backstretch, they're in a tight bunch. Now Quadrangle has the lead, and Northern Dancer and Hill Rise are going up on the outside. Big Pete is finished and is dropping back. They go to the far turn, and it is Northern Dancer, Quadrangle, Hill Rise racing head-to-head, and the Scoundrel is right behind them. Roman Brother now moves up in the 5th position. Big Pete drops off to last. Northern Dancer, halfway around the turn, has the lead. It's Northern Dancer on the lead. Hill Rise is running second on the outside. Quadrangle snug on the rail is third. So now the horses stand out a little bit from the rail as they're coming down the turn, and here they are on the home stretch. Northern Dancer showing the way. It's Northern Dancer out in front by a couple of lengths. Hill Rise is running second at the 8th pole. The Scoundrel under a whip is coming up to third, but Quadrangle is hanging in there third as well. Northern Dancer leading by 2.5 lengths. The Scoundrel moving to second. Hill Rise is third. Quadrangle is fourth. Here comes that finish line. Northern Dancer by 2 lengths.
With 2/3 of the Triple Crown owned by the small Canadian colt, he headed to New York and Aqueduct for the Belmont Stakes. For the 96 running of the Belmont, Northern Dancer was a sentimental choice to the crowd, with his nemesis Hill Rise going off as second choice. Unfortunately for Northern Dancer, he did not become the 9th Triple Crown winner, being defeated by Quadrangle and Roman Brother. After his long classic campaign, it was decided that his next start would be in his homeland of Canada in the Queen's Plate, a mere 2 weeks hence. The Queen's Plate was eagerly awaited by Northern Dancer's fans in Canada, and they made him the 1-5 favorite. Northern Dancer proved he was deserving of their support when he romped to a 7 1/2 length margin over Langcrest. The triumph came so easily that Bill Hartack never went to the whip, and the colt came within 2/5 of a second of the track record for the 1.25 miles. Northern Dancer was being pointed to the Travers at Saratoga when a tendon injury put a halt to his racing career. His record stood at 14 victories, 2 seconds and 2/3 in 18 career starts. At the end of 1964, he was given the honors of being Horse of the Year in Canada and 3-year-old champion in the U.S. Northern Dancer was retired to E.P. Taylor's National Stud Farm in Oshawa, Ontario, to sand his first season at stud, commanding a fee of $10,000 live foal. His book for 1965 was full by the time his retirement was announced in November of 1964. Northern Dancer's first crop of foals reached the races in 1968 and immediately gave a glimpse to the future when his son Vice Regal went undefeated in his 2-year-old year, winning 7 stakes in 8 starts and being named Canadian Horse of the Year and Champion 2-year-old. Other 2-year-olds that showed promise that year were stakes winners Dorothy Glynn and Eaglesham and stakes place True North. The crop of 1966, of which there were 21 foals, was to produce 10 stakes winners from 18 starters. 3 of these foals, Dance Act, One for All, and Vice Regal, were named champions in Canada. The great start of the 1966 crop prompted an increase in Northern Dancer's stud fee from the $10,000 live foal charged from 1965 through 1968 to $15,000 live foal for the 1969 season. It was also during 1968 that an expansion of Winfields took place with the acquisition of the Maryland Stallion Station in Chesapeake City. Renamed the Winfield Farm Maryland Stallion Division, the farm took in its new residence in the fall of 1968. Northern Dancer arrived in Maryland on December 3rd, 1968, after a 600-mile van ride from Canada to take up his stud duties. It is with Winfields in Maryland that the stallion would be associated while making his mark on the thoroughbred world.